This is Local Legends, the podcast where West Michigan sports takes center stage. Hosted by three local voices who've lived and breathed area sports. Hutton, Oshnok, Bakita. High school football the way it's meant to be, covered by the experts who know it best. This is Local Legends.
All right, it's a new episode of the Local Legends podcast, and really quick before we get in, we're going to have Tyrone Spencer, the second-year head coach at East Kentwood on. We're super excited about that, and we're going to talk, Ash, about your relationship with him. But first, as we're recording this podcast, it is the end of the first official week of high school football practice. So you as the head coach in Northview, what is it that a high school football coach of high school football team wants to get out of that first week, and just how do you feel about sitting here one weekend?
Sure. You think about as a high school football coach, and if you played high school football or what you're associated with it, you think that first week is 2-a-days, right? They hear that term 2-a-days. Those things have kind of changed over the years. Now we still do 2 practices a day. We do take about an hour and a half break between these practices at some point. But in these first 2 weeks, I think that they are unbelievably invaluable because number one, you're finding like, who are your starters going to be? I feel like you go in from the summer, like, these guys are going to be my starters, but there's always going to be like 1 or 2 dudes that you think that like, oh, I don't know if this guy can, play whatever said spot, but you find a guy that you're like, wow, this kid is a player, right? We've got pads on now. You find someone who's like, okay, this kid can tackle, like he's going to contribute on special teams. And then maybe he can push somebody at linebacker or DB or wow, here's a freshman that like, we're going to elevate him to the JV. And like, he's so good on the JV. Well, should we be giving some varsity reps next week as we go into our scrimmages? So in that first week, it's so valuable just to see like, okay, who are our starters going to be? And then who are those surprises? And then how are we going to continue to like roll these guys out and see how they mesh going into week 2 of the season? To me, it's an unbelievably exciting time. You can probably hear my voice is like a little shot, but like it's an exciting time to be a high school football coach because everyone's 0-0. And so like everyone's got this, this optimism that like, hey, we feel like we can be pretty good. And like, everybody's looking forward to week 1.
All right. Well, so we have Tyrone Spencer on. He's head coach of East Kentwood. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz surrounding the East Kentwood program. 5-5 a year ago, made the playoffs in Coach Spencer's first season. Did lose to Hudsonville in the first round. Of course, Hudsonville goes to state championship game. That was a 25-23 football game. It really could have gone either way. So you could say East Kentwood was that close. First of all, let's just talk about it. You obviously know Tyrone Spencer very well. Just kind of update us on that.
Yeah. So Ty and I, we played together at Wayne State University in 2005 and 2006. Ty is a graduate of Martin Luther King High School, and he played at Grand Rapids Junior College back when they had football. Not when Tony Anise was the head coach there. I think it was Jim Schulte was the head coach. And he came over to Wayne State to play his junior and senior year as a junior college transfer. And I played safety, and he was a starting corner. So we were in the same meeting room. We played for the same defense coordinator, Kurt Maddox. And Coach Maddox is now currently, I think he's the defense coordinator at the University of Charlotte now. We played for the same head coach, Paul Winters, who coached us. And we've been friends ever since. So when he got the job at Martin Luther King, or even when he was an assistant, I was a huge fan of Ty. Ty's always been a huge fan of me at all my different stops. And we've taken the time out of our busy lives, to at least check up on each other at least 3, 4, 5 times a year. Now that he lives in Grand Rapids, I get to see and talk to him more. So very excited about the job that he has, and then the work that he's gotten in year number 2 here for him.
How big of a deal is that for a school like East Kentwood to pull a Tyrone Spencer from Detroit, where he'd won multiple state championships? He's put, as we'll talk to him about, he's put multiple guys into the NFL. How big of a deal is that?
I think it's huge. And I think like everyone in the Grand Rapids area, right, there is a mystique around East Kentwood. And I give a lot of credit to John Shillito, right? When John Shillito was at East Kentwood, he had a machine. Now he's a system guy. If you think of those like tight T teams, he's a system guy. But when Shillito's teams were rolling, they were unbelievably hard to stop. You think about Corey Sanders when he was playing quarterback. And I think he's now the defense coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh, wherever he's at. You think about this name, Noel Alaman, who was like ranked in the nation for rushing, right? He had it rolling. And I think, look at the years that Coach Kimbrough had at Kentwood. Multiple NFL guys winning the Red outright in 2018. It was unbelievable year, right? So there's a mystique around the Kentwood town, or, Kentwood. There's a mystique around the East Kentwood program. Everybody's always thought like, all right, if they get the right guy, and obviously Coach Kimbrough did a great job there, and now they're able to pluck somebody like Ty Spencer. And I think the way that they did their search, I don't think it's a secret that they sought him out, right? And they were able to get the guy that they wanted. And that's not always true in all processes, right? So when jobs are open, a lot of times people apply for jobs. Like, hey, I would like to apply. Here's my application. Well, Kentwood was like, we're going to go after the people that we want. And I don't, he might have not been in the top choice, but he was a guy that they sought and they got him. They bring in a guy who's won multiple state championships. Think about a guy, Sauce Gardner, right? Sauce Gardner was a skinny wide receiver on his Martin Luther King team, and Ty Spencer was the guy to say, hey, Sauce, like, I think you should play corner. And then he's like, well, I'm a wide receiver. And probably the best move Sauce Gardner has ever made, right? Moving to corner, right? And so you get a guy that's coached multiple NFL guys, multiple state championships, and now he's coaching the OK Red. Huge kudos to East Kentwood High School.
I would argue the best move he ever made was changing his name to Sauce, because I remember when he was Amit Gardner playing for Detroit Martin Luther King back at Ford Field a couple of times there. All right, so before we get to the interview with Coach Spencer, there's this whole thing about year 2 of a head coach, and I guess I started talking about this on Fox 17 years ago, and you just can't help but notice that there usually is a jump from year 1 of a coaching staff to year 2 of a coaching staff. Now, I did a little homework on this, and we'll get to it in a second. But first, I want to ask you, as a guy who's had 3 different head coaching spots at the high school level in this area, is there something to that, or is it maybe not as much as I like to believe?
No, I think you're spot on, because I think no matter what, regardless, when you get a job, right, the high school, everyone's like, well, he got this job. Generally speaking, you're still teaching at your old school, right? Wherever you came from beforehand. And even if you have the opportunity to come a little bit early, there's still this huge transition period, right? And you got to think, what's our summer schedule going to look like? What are they doing currently in the weight room, right? So you've not had like this true full off season, so to speak, in the state of Michigan. Like, it's not like I get the job and all of a sudden I'm there tomorrow, right? A lot of times it's you get the job and you're going to be there full time in 6 months. So like Ty's been there now for a full year. The people are learning his system, right? He tried to implement it last summer, right? He hired a bunch of new coaches. To me, he's got 2 of the best coordinators in West Michigan, and Alex Smith and Shane Lacarani as the offense coordinator. So they've learned that system. I think there's a lot to be said from year 1 to year 2. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, like, oh, they've been in my system, but like the kids know your expectation. They've heard his voice. They've heard my voice when in year 2 at Northview, right? So that's something I think that is true to speak.
I appreciate that. And hey, I just want, as we go on with this, please feel free at all times, if necessary, call me out. Okay, if I'm wrong, let me know. Okay, I want us to be able to do that. So I did a little research here on coaches year 1 to year 2 in the OK Conference since 2009. Okay, and there's a little bit of data here. So the one that jumps out to me, the one that kind of led me to this, I remember Gus Kapolka year 1 to year 2 at Cedar Springs. They went from 5-4 to 9-2. And I remember back in 2014, kind of really hit for me year 2. But just a few other examples. Cody Mallory at Spring Lake recently went from 3 wins to 7. Pat Collins at West Ottawa went from no wins to 4. Eric Stiegel went from 5. He went up 4. Let's say that. Joe Schwander at Belding went up 5. Jeff Dock at Thornapple Kellogg went up 5. Ralph Munger at Newaygo just last year, 6 extra wins. But can you tell me, can you guess as to what the best year 1 to year 2 turnaround in the OK Conference since 2009 has been? Do you have a guess, Ben? Do you have a guess?
Let's preface this. I've been thinking about this a little bit, right? I think it's Doug Samuels, Comstock Park. He was 1-5 and maybe went 9-0 the next year, 9-1.
It was 1-6, went 9-0 the next year, ended up losing to West Calgary in the first round. So 8 win up, but it was tied. It's happened twice, and I actually gave the tiebreaker to the other one because of the first year for Doug Samuels was the shortened COVID year. So West Ottawa did it. Coach Ashton, right?
You're right.
2016, yeah. 2-7, 2017, 10-2.
You're right. Yeah, there you go. 8 wins. I didn't even think about
was
that.
really
And I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, I remember Doug did it because Doug was our offensive coordinator that year at West Ottawa.
right. So Doug's done it
Doug's
twice.
done it twice. Doug's got the magic.
He really is the 2-year turnaround guy. So see him for your second year needs. All right, well, let's hear it then. Let's hear it. Coach, we'll welcome in Coach Tyrone Spencer, head coach at East Kentwood. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate this. This is one question I always like to ask, especially coaches going to their second year at a program. You know, you get here last year and everything's new. You're getting to know the kids. They were learning your system. Differences for you right now as we sit here in August from year 1 to year 2. What's the biggest difference?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys. This seems like it's gonna be real fun. But the biggest difference is just really honestly just we've went to war together now. You know, like I think the first year is just a lot of getting to know each other. You know, they hear I'm a good coach. I hear this player's good and this and that, but you know, you haven't formed a relationship. You haven't like went through anything together. And then like now with guys coming back, they're familiar with my voice. They know who I am. They know what the expectations are. And you know, it's been fun, man. It's been a great ride so far.
Now, reflect back a little bit here, Ty, because, you know, I know you're a Detroit guy, and that's why I wore my hat for you here. And we spent some time in Detroit together. But
Absolutely.
speaking of year 1 to year 2, how was it when you were at Martin Luther King? What have you taken from year 1, year 2, from your experience at King, and now from year 1, year 2, your experience here at Kentwood?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think year 1 to year 2 at King, it was so different because of the circumstance. You know, like, you know, I took over when Coach Harville died. So it was kind of like you know, it was a movie, you know what I mean? Like the way that shaped, you know, the way it shaped up. But I would say just my approach to tackle things early on, I think, to kind of get ahead of some of the things that I know are to come when it comes with discipline, when it comes to just parent involvement and engagement, you know, that type of stuff, just getting ahead of it because you've done it for so long now. So a little bit more organized and prepared for those things. I would say that's really the biggest difference when it comes to year 1 and 2 from King and East Kentwood.
Yeah,
Coach,
I'd say the same. Yeah, I'll go. I mean, like just for me, like each year, I feel like I'm just trying to get. I feel like I'm getting a little more organized, organized. And then I do things like, oh, I could have done this, and this, and write it down in a journal or something. You know, give myself a reminder.
Yep.
But just that organizational piece, and especially at a place like Kentwood, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, I can't necessarily compare athlete to athlete, but it's just a bigger school with maybe more kids and more opportunities and more things you got to do, man. The more organized you could stay, man, that is key.
Yeah.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, so, you know, it would have been easy for you to stay at Martin Luther King where you just win more championships. You were winning. That would have been easy, right? But you decided to come a little bit out of your comfort zone, come over here to our side. Like, what did you learn about yourself last year with that move and you know, just kind of being out of your element there a little bit?
Man, to be honest, last year was like, it was 5-5, but it was fun. Like, I think because trying to get those players and that team to believe in something, you know what I mean? And the ride that we had and really coming close to beating Hudsonville in that playoff game and seeing those kids' reactions at the end of it, at the end of the game, it was just really rewarding, man. Like, it was really rewarding to the point I was like, okay, this is why I came here, you know, to really have this impact on the kids. And it was fun. I like it. You know, I don't think I'll ever say I like 5-5, you know what I'm saying? But just the way it did, the way we set the foundation and the tone, man, I thought was pretty good. And so, yeah, man, I'm excited for what's ahead.
So Ty, you got to speak on this because a lot of these people will be viewing this as big West Side people,
right?
And you know, I try to pride myself in having a big network of friends in the coaching profession. Can you tell us what is the difference between coaching football at a big school on the west side of the state versus the east side of the state? And I know it's huge, right? I mean, and we feel like, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about transfers. And there are kids that transfer in Grand Rapids. But like it potentially is that on steroids times 2. So I'll let you have the floor. difference.
So I think the biggest difference is like being at King. I think King was established. Like Coach Reynolds, rest in peace, was the guy that started in the 90s when they played Muskegon in the championships and stuff like that, right? So taking over that program, it was already in the works. It was going. Now we took it to another level, but at the same time, like there was somebody who established that and got it going. And then here at Kentwood, it's been up and down over there with winning and being down in years and stuff like that. So I would say the biggest difference, though, when I compare just East and West, there is a talent gap. Now I don't want to say gap, but I would say per area in Detroit. Like if you go to King, Cass, and Depsa, they're all 3 miles away from each other, and like you're gonna get a lot of talent just being in that area right there. So then like if you go to West Bloomfield, Southfield, and I don't know some other like Orchard Lake, like you're gonna get a lot of talent. Like you're gonna lead more than 10 D1 guys. So I just think talent wise is a difference. Transfer wise, the MHSA has been putting a lot of dampers on that stuff. So I think transfer wise, it is what it is. You got guys that transfer on the West, you get guys that transfer on the East, but it was very heavy on the East, like early on. You know what I mean? Early on. It's kind of a little different now. But I just think that's really the biggest difference to me is just like talent wise. I think there's a little bit more skill when it comes to skill. I think like linemen, linebackers, and even certain skill that we have over here on the West Side is really good. I think the brand of coaching is really good. I just think those skill athletes, like, I mean, I have 4 guys in the NFL that play corner. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the skill is different. You know what I mean? The skill position is different. But I think it's a misconception that the football over here doesn't have talent. Like, that's not the case. Like, I saw a lot of talented teams. I mean, I take a team like West Ottawa, for example. Like, man, they were hella talented and just, you know what I mean, just wearing OK red, man, and they had injuries. And that can hurt you. So yeah, I don't think the transfer thing, I mean, like I said, there's transfers here and there. It happens all the time. But I just think just from a talent standpoint, I think just the skill positions are a little bit more talented over on that side. And I think just the media, man, the media blows it up a little bit more, I think, over there a little bit than over here. And we got some good guys, but I just think they blow it up a lot more on that side of town.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, man. And I've had this book idea for a long time, right? So when you and I were kids,
yeah,
the city of Detroit was a basketball haven, right?
Yep.
I mean, you think about Detroit Southwestern with Jalen Rose and Vashawn Leonard, and Chris Webber over at Country Day. Like, all you heard about was Detroit and basketball, hoop, 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 hoop. And then all of a sudden, you get guys who came around in that late 90s era that said, you know what, we're going to turn this thing. And they had a vision, right? And that's where you get kind of the sound mind, sound body thing that has kind of sprouted up. And all of a sudden now, if you look it up, who's got the most, what city has the most guys in the NFL? It's Detroit.
Yeah.
And you can kind of pinpoint that stuff back to when, Curtis Blackwell and some of those guys started Sound Mind, Sound Body and started getting kids to believe that, you know what, I mean, basketball, I love basketball, man. I love to watch it. I played a little in high school, but man, there's 11 dudes on offense. In football, there's 11 dudes on defense, and most really good basketball programs play about 6 dudes total.
That's it. Yeah.
Maybe seven, right? And so all of a sudden, so that's my mind. So I guess if somebody out there wants to steal my book idea, I really want to write a book about the evolution of, Detroit coming from a basketball city into a football city. And then it kind of happened right there, man. I just think it's really special what the city of Detroit has done. Yeah. And it's really cool to see. And, some people sometimes hate on it, like, oh, well, that's Detroit. I mean, I've never seen kids work so hard in my entire life than when we go and throw against Cass. We go and throw King. And we threw against Depsa this summer. They were well coached, hardcore, Darius Brock's coaching them up every snap. Every snap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Their quarterback was my kid. I had him. He was a freshman. Something happened. I think he got kicked out of King or something like that, and he ended up at Depsa. But yeah, he's gonna be a good one. He's gonna be a good prospect. But you're right, Ash. That like what Ash said, that's exactly what happened. I think football started going year round, and like I know what I've noticed is like over here on the west side, there's more. You're in basketball, you're in baseball. We didn't have that many sports in at King. We just had baseball, and we had to worry about baseball and basketball. Over here, we got water polo and this and that, and it's just like rugby. So it's different when you're trying to get your kids and get them engaged with maybe lifting or film or whatever it is. But the year-round football with Rising Stars, Sound Mind, Sound Body, that really has changed the narrative of football in that Metro Detroit area. Because those kids are training year-round, and they're still running track and hooping, but now they're doing football on the weekends, and that's making them better football players. And that has been a big push. And those guys that were 5'10", 5'11", on the east side, they found out I could be a Division I football player instead of playing basketball. Because a lot of kids at my school love basketball, and I'm trying to get them out, but they love basketball. So
man, this is good stuff. We're almost 12 minutes in yet. We haven't even talked about your 2025 team yet, which I want to do. But hey, back to your point about the media. That's why we're starting this podcast. We're going to try to do our part here to get the West Michigan. We're going to try to get it going, Coach. That's our goal. We're trying.
Yes, sir.
So, let's talk about your team this year. I mean, we got to start with your quarterback, right? Kayd Coffman, committed to Michigan State, had a nice year for you last year as a junior. Tell me about Kayd's offseason and what's the next step for him this year?
Yeah, I think he's had a really great offseason. He's working hard. I think that where he's grown the most at is his leadership. Like, I think he's done a great job of leading the troops. Just having that attitude of, I'm not trying to be your friend, but I'm going to pull guys with me and get this team going. So I really like his attitude and how he's been. He's developed his game. And, he started off rough the first couple of weeks in the season last year, but that's because it was his first year starting. I mean, he never started before. And, at the end of the season, man, this guy was hot. So really excited to have him. He's now not in a quarterback battle like he was last year. So he's more comfortable. He knows everything on the team, as far as playbook goes. Just really excited about the type of season that he can have, man. But he's a really good football player, better person too.
So what if you were to tell Kayd Coffman one thing to break into the all-time top 3 quarterbacks coached by Ty Spencer?
Yeah.
What's one thing he's got to do to break into the top 3? Because think about this now. You've coached a lot of really good quarterbacks, yes?
Right.
Okay. Can he, is it possible for him to break in and be on the top 3? Man. If you want to tell us who, right? You got Quan Finn in no particular order. Dante Moore, Quan Finn. I think the kid you had early on.
I didn't coach him, but I know Davon Williams, he went to Howard, and then we had DJ, we had Posey was after that in the Lowell game. Yep. But yeah, Dante, him, DQ, those guys, man, are pretty good football players, man. I don't know how, like, throw more touchdowns, throw more passing yards, or rush more than one of them, man. You gotta do that, because the Quan was more of a dual threat guy. Dante did it with his arm, and so it's like if you have a combination of those, and Kayd he's worked his butt off. He's ran track, you know what I mean. He's throwing really hard. He's working good, keeping care. The biggest thing with him too is like he's taking care of his body. He's preaching getting rest, and he's preaching treatment, and like that's the mature stuff that I appreciate that he brings to our program.
One thing I want to ask you about, Coach, sometimes people don't, every football team goes through adversity, right? Always. Yeah. Sometimes people don't realize it though. Week 1 last year, you lose Charlie Nichols, your starting center, for the season to injury. I mean, that's just that he started as a sophomore before you were there. To have him back, first of all, how hard was that to deal with last year? And now to have him back, where's he at, and how big of a role will he have on your team this year?
Yeah, it was tough losing Charlie because he's such a grinder and he's just he brings the energy on the O line. And it was hard because he was out and then he was like, oh, I'll be back in 4 weeks. Then it was like he wasn't coming back. Then it was like, oh no, I got 2 more weeks. So it was just playing this game with like, what's wrong with you? Because he had this MCL injury and he just was out for the year. So that hurt us. But having him come back, he's even leaner now. He looks good. He's doing a great job of leadership. It's just awesome to have Charlie, man. Him and Kayd are the leaders of the football team. And so having him back at center and doing some stuff at guard, I mean, that's what we need. He's making all the calls, all the checks, and he's a phenomenal football player.
Think about how special, you use that word grind, right? And think about how special the opportunity a lot of your kids have right here, right? They're being coached by an offense coordinator, Shane Lacarani, who is as good as they come, right? I mean, he probably have a number of head jobs in the country, right? And he came to you from a private school in California. Yeah. And then you have Alex Smith, who's a grinder, right? He is honestly, Ty, he's the only guy I know that gets up earlier than I do and works. That guy gets up at like 3:30. He's like, oh yeah, I got the alarm set for 3:30. I'm ready to start drawing scout cards, man. I'm like, yes. But just that opportunity. So those kids have the opportunity amongst other coaches on your staff. Talk about this opportunity your kids have to get coached by some of the very best individuals here in West Michigan.
Yeah, it's funny you say that though, because when Alex told me what time he goes to bed and we wakes up, I thought about you like, man, I remember in college, Ash would go to bed so early. Like, what's going on with that? But man, those guys are what I call like they are nerds, man. They are football nerds. And I thought I was a football nerd and junkie until I met these guys, and that's all they do, all they want to do. And it's good. It's good for our guys to learn from. They're very thorough. They're very, they're teachers too. That's what I like. Like Alex is a really great teacher. He's going to make sure guys are understanding, checking for understanding. They're patient, and the kids know that they care about them, man. They're great guys. And so, having them be on our offense and defense and leading our offense and defense, man, is good, man. I've always heard the saying that good help is hard to find. And so when you can find it, man, you gotta have it. You gotta use it.
Coach, I want to ask about the running back position. Elijah Jones was really good for you last year. Of course, he graduates. Help me out with that position. I know Jesse Phillips started at safety for you. We saw his ability to run the ball 2 years ago when he was at Union before you got to Kentwood. How about Dallas Moody is another guy who sat out last year. Now he's a junior. Are those guys options at running back? Is there someone else?
Yeah, I think right now we kind of have a running back by committee type of thing going on. Like, so one of the backups, Nas Williams, he was a backup. He's doing pretty well right now. He'll get some carries. Davian Nettleman played a little bit. He was more of a scat back, receiving threat type of guy. He brings that to the table. And then Jesse, he'll be more of a full-time offensive guy this year, but he'll do a lot of different things. Jesse's a physical guy, so we'll be using him to block. We'll be using him to run the ball. He really likes contact, and he's had a really good offseason, better than he did last year because he was out with like a nagging knee, so he never really got in shape. So now he's more leaner, he's in shape. So looking for him to do a lot of things and be multi-dimensional in our offense. And I think it's those three right now are the guys that we're looking. Then and Mighty Edmonds too, man. Amon Edmonds, like if you might see him in the backfield, you know what I mean, doing some things. But he's an explosive guy. We gotta get him the ball.
So do you try to
sorry.
Sorry, Ash. I just real quick. Do you try to not play guys both ways? Would you prefer to platoon? I know Ash, that's what he likes to do. Or are
Yeah.
you going to play guys both ways?
I will play guys both ways if they can handle it. You know what I mean? Like you can't take off on defense to be ready for offense. You know, like you gotta understand that if it's we'll give you a blow on offense because you got to stop people from scoring. But I don't mind it. They just got to be in great shape and they have to have the mental capacity to be able to not have those mental errors on offense or defense because you're playing too much. That's the only thing that scares me about letting guys go both ways. But the special ones, yeah, we're gonna definitely allow them to play.
So being a coach like you, I would never say like, hey, who's going to be the best team in the OK Red or whatever that may be. And I look at your schedule. You got Southfield in week 1. You got Byron Center in week 2, which are neither programs are slouches, right? Both have great head football coaches. But as you go into that OK Red season, right, who are some of these other teams that like maybe, and obviously Hudsonville's the reigning champ, right?
Yep.
Like, as you're preparing in the offseason, are you just like, hey, man, we got to win this next week? But in the back of your mind, what are you doing and what do you have to do for Kentwood or East Kentwood to make that next step and be in the upper echelon of the OK Red?
Yeah. I think it's really about being consistent. You know, we got to be consistent in executing offensively and defensively. But I do believe I take the approach of just one game at a time. Really, because sometimes when you look ahead, man, it gets you, you can tend to get beat sometimes, man. I've been there. So I really try to take it one game at a time, but there is no like slouching in the OK Red though. So from Jenison, like that's going to be a big game at the Byron Center, the Jenison. Like they're getting better. They're going to be good. Then we go on the road to Rockford, you know what I mean? And so like those games are going to be critical, you know what I mean, to our success. So we just have to take it one game at a time, stay healthy, and just play it. You got to almost play like every game a playoff game, sort of, you know what I mean? Just play it and be where we are at that time. Don't try to, look down the line. So I got to really teach my kids that because they'll look down there and, will be not prepared for anybody else. So
sure, you know how it is, man. Just like any other thing, man. You get that one marquee win, like a week 2 Byron Center, right? Like
that could be huge.
Yeah, and it's like that ball just starts rolling downhill, and it's like, oh man, this is good stuff, right?
Yeah.
For the kids, for the coaches, for the community, for the administration, the whole thing. I mean, it's special. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm obviously I'm always rooting for you, man, wherever you're at. So
it was kind of like that. I honestly like because last year I was trying to get them to believe, right? And like the Granville game, we lost by 8 points. So we turned the ball over on like the 5-yard line, like going to score, take the lead. And it's like, but it was like teaching the kids, like, you see how close you were to like, really like doing that and really holding them. We didn't let Terry get off like that. I mean, he had 3-4 touchdowns, but he had to earn every yard. And I think the guys started to believe then, and that helped us later on in that Hudsonville game. But yeah, I really agree with you. Like you get a good win week 1, week 2, and then the guys start to believe. But it has to be a balance of believing and still having some humility though. Like because then the issue becomes, oh, okay, you're 2-0 or something, and it's like you may have never been 2-0. How do you respond to that? Like how do you handle that success? So hopefully I can have that problem.
I got one more, Jace. I got one more. Give me one guy on the roster right now that nobody knows about right now that's going to have a huge impact on your team this year. That's going to make a name for himself in West Michigan this year.
That's a good one. I think one person that maybe some people know about him or maybe they don't. And I think it's a kid named Kendrick Mayhew. Kendrick, he played H-back tight end for us. He's about 205, 210. But this kid has really worked his butt off. He's gotten better athletically, and like he was really influential in our run game. And now he's going to play some defense. So to your point, Jason, as far as like two-way guys, I mean, this kid is in shape. So he'll be, coming off the edge doing some things for us. But, he's 6'3", about 210. And I think like the kid have a really good year, for us this year.
I love that. Great question. Great answer. All right. My last one for you, Coach. For East Kentwood to have the season that you guys want this year, give me one big key. What's got to go your way this year to have the season you guys want to have?
Well, it's got to go our way. I think we definitely have to be better in the back end defensively. A lot of our games just third and long, giving up the first downs, third and medium, giving up the first downs. We were really good on like run downs and stuff in the run, but we struggled in the pass. And hopefully this year, those guys were sophomores and I had a freshman that started. So hopefully now with those guys being juniors and the one freshman being a sophomore, and I think we got one senior also, hopefully it'll be better and we can like be more competitive in that regard to where games are not getting out of hand because of that. That was a big thing for us.
Awesome. We appreciate it. We can't thank you enough for being on. We are so excited to watch your team this year. It's going to be a fun run. Thanks for being on. I promise you, we will bug you again during this year. We'll have you on one Friday night after a big win. And we
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, man.
All right. So, Ash, let's just talk potential for this East Kentwood team, right? We look at this OK Red, and I know I certainly believe Hudsonville is the favorite to repeat. Yes, they graduated a bunch of guys. I think they're just as talented, even though they may not have as much varsity experience. But certainly with their lack of varsity experience, there's no guarantees. Even in the OK Red, there's never really any guarantees. I know you love Granville. Certainly Granville is a team that we think could win the OK Red Conference. I think Rockford is going to be sneaky. This is probably the least hype around a Rockford team I can remember, at least in the last 10 years. And with the talent they have on defense, Braden Daniels back at quarterback, I think that Rockford's going to be better than most people are going to give them credit for. East Kentwood, where do you see them in this OK Red, and do you think they could compete for this league title?
I really do. And I think as we look at the roster, you've got a quarterback who's obviously has multiple Division I offers, committed to Michigan State, right? So he's a next level type of talent, and he's your trigger man. And he's not in year one of the offense. It wasn't like he just came over. He came over from South Christian 2 years ago. So he's in his second year as starter, right? You're in year two for your offense coordinator, Shane Lacarania. Year two for their defense coordinator, Alex Smith, right? Year two for their head coach, Ty Spencer, who comes from unbelievable pedigree. I mean, I don't know if there's a coach in West Michigan who's got a winning percentage like Ty Spencer, right? I guess Brent Cummings probably does. He's lost probably 5 games, right? But you think that if there's ever a year, it's probably this one, right? I mean, going into year two, you have such an advantage, right? He's got a ton of guys back. I feel like a lot of guys don't have to play both ways. I think they're a team that could compete at that next level. Now, with that being said, so I think back, and I love Granville, right? When I think back a couple of years ago when Reese Puffer beat Zeeland West, I don't know if you remember this. I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was in week 8 or week 9. Alex Smith was the defensive coordinator at Reese Puffer, okay? And they held Zeeland West to, I don't know, 12 points, something like that, right? Alex Smith is a guy that I think might have some secret sauce, no pun intended there, but some secret sauce for Granville, right? So can Kentwood get by a Rockford early? I believe they play them in week 4, right? Can they get by Rockford early? That would be, to me, just a program-changing win for Kentwood, right? And then you kind of get that ball rolling downhill, and then you go Caledonia, West Ottawa. Then that's that big Hudsonville game, and then you're looking at a big matchup with Granville. So I think they're the team that can compete. I think they've got the right pedigree, coaching staff-wise. I think they got enough talent coming back. So I think they're a team that can compete to win the OK Red.
If you look back historically at the standings, and I do this from time to time in the OK Red, many, many, many more times than not, you get a conference champion or a shared conference title, as in nobody runs the table in the OK Red. I think that would be, if we were betting here, the betting favorite would be no one puts a 0 in the loss column in the OK Red. It's just too difficult. Last year, Hudsonville did that, right? They did not lose an OK Red game. And then they repeated, which I think is even tougher, by beating 2 more OK Red schools in the postseason. So if you were betting, is there a team of the 4 we mentioned, or maybe one we haven't, that could do that again? Or do you think it's more likely that we either get a conference champion with 1 league loss or shared title, or maybe there's a team that doesn't win the OK Red that then makes the longer run, and maybe East Kentwood could be one of those?
Yeah, and you bring up a great point there. I mean, I think I would be shocked if there was a team that's going to run and go undefeated in the red this year, right? I'd be shocked if Kentwood did it, but I do feel like they can compete to that. But I look at the teams at the top, right? Obviously, you got to look at Rockford, okay? Their coaching staff, they've got 150 guys on the team, or whatever that crazy number is, right? They've got a ton of talent there, right? I mean, you look at Kentwood, you look at one of my favorites, Granville, right? Can they withstand that kind of schedule? So I think Granville is going to drop a game in the conference, right? I don't know if that's going to be East Kentwood. I don't know if that's going to be Rockford, right? I don't know if Vanderveen's got enough, magic in his sleeve to stop those guys again. To me, I think we're going to see at least one loss that's going to at least share or win the league. But again, I'm going to stick with my favorite, and I think that's Granville in the red. I do think they can get out of the district, right? So I remember coaching in the red in 2017, and at West Ottawa, we were fortunate enough to win the red and run the table in the red. And then we had to play week 1, Granville. And then in second round of the playoffs, we had to play Rockford, right? And then all of a sudden we get to the third round of the playoffs. It's like, wow, this is totally different. Yeah. And play Clarkston. We were up 21-7 going in the fourth quarter, and or whatever it was, 14-7, and then we lost 21-14, whatever it was. But I think it's going to be hard to run the table, but I do think a team like Granville can squeak by. But, I mean, is Kentwood a team that's going to get better and better as the weeks go on? We'll see.
Well, it certainly seemed like it last year, right? Because they lose to Hudsonville in the regular season 35-6, come back in the playoffs, it's 25-23, came right down to the final buzzer. So I do think I will be shocked here if we do not get if we don't get East Kentwood, Rockford, Granville, and Hudsonville all in a district again. Now, I'm not here to tell you Grand Haven or Jenison can't make the playoffs, and that's where it'll get interesting. What if we get 5 OK Red teams in the playoffs? Somebody's going to go east, and more times than not, it's East Kentwood.
Right. I mean, there was, I remember a year they played Brighton in round 1, and I think that might have been 2018 or whatever year it was. But they're a team that could go east, right? And sometimes I think you get rewarded a little bit, right? Because you don't have to go through that grind again in the playoffs. I think, but I do think, I mean, we had the opportunity to throw against Jenison a couple of times over the summertime. I think he's doing an outstanding job there. I think that's a team that can sneak out 5 wins. I mean, they were a 4-win team last year. If they get to 5 wins, they're in the Division 2 playoff, or they're the Division 1 or Division 2.
They're Division 1 this year. Yeah,
Division 1. I mean, they're a team that can get in with 5 wins. I think you get to 5 wins in Division 1 in the OK Red, I think you're going to be in the playoffs without question, right? You look at Grand Haven with the speed that they have, and their coach, unbelievable job I think they're doing. They're a team that I think they can play and compete with anybody, right? I mean, they're not a team that you can just look past by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. You look at Caledonia with a new head football coach, right? I mean, we'll see what Coach Bell can do over there. I mean, it's not like the cupboard was bare. They've got an unbelievable quarterback as well.
That's the other thing I wanted to say. Brett asked us earlier on a few episodes ago about surprise teams, and I mentioned Caledonia as my team. So I'm here I believe that Caledonia could push for a playoff spot as well. So who knows how it's all going to play out. By the way, one thing I was thinking about, I forgot to mention, I should definitely have said Zeeland East on that, by the way, because I think I'm higher than anybody on Zeeland East. I really like the Chicks this year. In fact, I think they might win the OK Gold, as crazy as that is, because the OK Gold is so good. So I should have said that, and Brett's not here to hear it, but Zeeland East is a team for sure that could sneak up and get some people this year. I really like what Coach Joe Woodruff has. All right, well, that's pretty much going to do it for this episode, Ash, unless you got anything else. Just want to remind everyone that we are going to be on with our first week of regular season high school football reaction. That's going to be Thursday, August the 28th. We will have an episode. We'll tape it a couple hours after the game is end, and we'll make it available early Saturday morning. So week 1 reaction will be Thursday, August 28th. We still do have, though, hopefully 3 more preview episodes to come here between now and August 28th.